The battlefield of flea smoke filled the sky. The ground was broken, burned, and soaked in blood. Pieces of metal lay scattered everywhere. Giant war machines, once full of power, now lay silent like dead monsters. The war between humans and aliens had ended, but no one came back for their bodies. In the middle of this ruined land, an alien woman lay still. Her name was Alira. Her skin, pale blue and soft, was torn in many places. Thin cuts ran across her arms, legs, and face. Her long white hair was dirty, tangled with mud and ash. Flies landed on her open wounds. They crawled across her skin, feeding on her pain. She couldn't move. Her breathing was slow, weak. The buzzing sound of the flies filled her ears. She could hear nothing else. She was completely alone. Her dry lips moved slightly, whispering, "If no one comes, let it end." Alira closed her eyes. She had fought as a soldier. She had tried to protect her people. But everything was lost now. The last battle was over. The humans had won. She waited for death. She welcomed it. Footsteps crunched softly over broken rocks. At first, she thought it was her mind playing tricks. Then, stronger footsteps, closer. A shadow fell across her face. Slowly, with great effort, she opened one eye. A human stood above her. He wore a black combat uniform, his helmet pulled back. His face was young, but his eyes carried heavy years of war. A thin scar crossed his cheek. His skin was tanned from many battles under many suns. His name was Captain Marcus. He was not like the other soldiers who had come through earlier, collecting weapons and scanning bodies for technology. He was looking for survivors. And now, he had found one. For a moment, they stared at each other. Alira waited for him to pull out his weapon and finish her. That's what any human would do, she thought. But Marcus did not move his gun. Instead, he knelt beside her. "You're alive," he said softly. Alira tried to speak, but only a weak gasp came out. He looked at her wounds, his face serious but calm. "You need help." Marcus opened a small pack from his belt. He gently sprayed a cool mist over her wounds. The spray stopped the bleeding, sealing her open cuts. Alira flinched at his touch, expecting pain, but it didn't hurt. It felt safe. "I'm not here to hurt you," Marcus said quietly. "I'm not your enemy anymore." Alira didn't answer. She couldn't believe his words. She had seen humans kill her friends, destroy her home, and burn her world. Why would this one help her? Marcus carefully slid his arms under her weak body. "I've got you," he whispered. He lifted her slowly, making sure not to hurt her more. Alira's head rested against his chest. She could hear his strong heartbeat. It was strange, warm, real. As he carried her through the ruined field, other human soldiers watched from a distance. Some whispered, "Why is he carrying one of them? Should have left her. She's an enemy." But no one stopped him. Marcus didn't care what they said. He carried her to his small transport shuttle, gently placing her on a stretcher. Inside the shuttle, the medical team stared in surprise. "You brought back an alien?" the medic asked. Marcus nodded firmly. "She's a survivor. She needs care." The medic frowned. "The war's over, Captain. We don't need prisoners." "She's not a prisoner," Marcus said. "She's a wounded soul." As the shuttle lifted off, flying toward the human fleet, Alira's eyes grew heavy. Her body relaxed for the first time in days. Before sleep took her, she whispered, "Why?" Marcus heard her soft voice. He leaned close and answered, "Because you deserve to live." Back in the human fleet headquarters, news of Marcus's action spread quickly. Commanders argued. "She's an enemy. She might have useful information, or she's dangerous." On another channel, Alira's own people received word. She let a human touch her. She allowed herself to be saved by the enemy. Shame filled the voices of her own leaders. But Alira knew none of this as she slept peacefully for the first time since the war began. She had closed her eyes expecting death, but now she opened them to something else. A strange, gentle human hand, a second chance. Asterisk a life unexpected. Asterisk she expected chains. She expected cold walls. She expected pain. But what she found was far more dangerous. Kindness. Soft lights blinked above her head. The air was clean. The bed was warm. Alira opened her eyes slowly. For a brief moment, she panicked. Was she in a prison? Was this an experiment room? Was this the human's way of breaking her? Her hands moved slightly. No chains. Her legs moved. No straps. She was free to move. A soft voice came from the corner. You're awake. Alira's eyes darted toward the sound. Captain Marcus stood there, arms crossed, but relaxed. I didn't think you'd wake so soon, he said. Alira tried to speak, but her throat was dry. She whispered, why am I here? Marcus walked over, gently handing her a cup of water. To heal. Alira stared at the cup. For years, every kindness had come with a price. She sniffed the water carefully. It's safe, Marcus said calmly. No tricks. After a long pause, she drank slowly. The cool liquid felt like a gift to her dry throat. She looked at him again. The human's eyes were calm, not cruel, not mocking, just calm. Why didn't you kill me on the field? She asked. Marcus paused. Because you were breathing, and because no one deserves to die forgotten like that. Alira's lips trembled. No one had ever said those words to her. In war, weakness was punished. Mercy was rare. This was something. She didn't know how to understand. She whispered, you are my enemy. Marcus nodded. We were enemies. The war is over now. The door behind him opened. Two human officers entered, their faces stern. They glanced at Alira, then at Marcus. You disobeyed protocol, Captain. One of them said sharply. She was a target. The other added, now she's a war asset. Marcus stood tall. She's a survivor. We don't keep survivors, Captain. You're ordered to hand her over for interrogation. Alira's chest tightened. So this is it, she thought. The kindness was only temporary. The pain will come next. But Marcus surprised her again. No, he said firmly. I won't turn her over. The officer stared at him in shock. This is not your decision, one hissed. Marcus stepped forward. It is if you want my resignation. The room grew tense. The officers exchanged worried looks. Finally, they left, whispering among themselves. Alira stared at him, unable to hide her confusion. Why would you risk that? Marcus looked at her gently. You don't owe me anything, Alira, but you deserve a life. I've seen enough death. That night, Alira sat in her small medical room, staring at the stars outside the window. The human ship floated quietly in space. Her mind raced. Why would an enemy save me? Why would he risk everything for me? What does he want? She whispered to herself. No one gives kindness for free. Suddenly, the door slid open again. Marcus returned, carrying a tray of simple food. Eat, he said softly. Your body needs strength. Alira looked at the food carefully. Bread, soup, fresh fruit, all cleaned out, all safe. But why? After a long pause, she ate slowly. Every bite felt like a test. Marcus watched quietly, but never pressured her. Finally, she looked at him. Will you hurt me later? No. Will you ask something from me? No. Her voice grew smaller. Then, why do you care? Marcus sat down beside her, folding his hands calmly. Because I've seen too many people suffer for nothing. He looked into her tired eyes. And because I believe not every human and not every alien has to be like their leaders. For a moment, Alira said nothing, but deep inside, something she had buried for years moved. A tiny seed. Hope. She whispered softly. What happens to me now? Marcus answered gently. Whatever you choose, but far away. Deep in the military headquarters, the Human Command Council gathered. One general slammed his fist on the table. He's protecting an enemy. He's violating every rule. Another added, we'll send agents to retrieve her. The captain's personal feelings won't stop us. At the same time, on the alien side, her people were watching too. A bitter voice whispered, she should have died on that field. She's a traitor now. Neither side knew it yet. But this human and alien had started something no one could stop. A dangerous friendship, a growing trust, and soon, something much more. The orders to surrender her ashes. She finally tasted hope. But hope is dangerous. Because when you begin to believe, that's when they try to take it away. The next morning, Alira sat by the wide window inside the human ship. She watched the stars. Quietly, her hands wrapped around a warm cup. For the first time in her life, no chains held her. No walls closed around her. But inside her heart, she still waited for something to go wrong. Behind her, Captain Marcus spoke with two officers on a private comm channel. He thought she couldn't hear, but her ears were sharp. We've given you enough time, Captain. One voice said coldly, the alien must be turned over to command for processing. Marcus kept his voice calm. She's not a threat. She was left to die. She hasn't harmed anyone. That's not your decision. Orders are final. Deliver her or face disciplinary action. Alira's fingers gripped the cup tightly. There it is. The kindness was ending. The real cost was coming. She stood and walked toward him as he ended the call. Marcus turned and saw her serious face. You heard, he said softly. She nodded. You should give me to them, she said, her voice flat. No, you'll lose your position. I don't care. She shook her head slowly. I'm not worth this. Marcus stepped closer. You're worth everything. Alira looked away. All my life, I've been told my worth was measured by what I could give. My body, my service, my obedience. She looked into his eyes. You expect nothing from me. I don't know how to handle that. Marcus smiled gently, then learned. But their time was running out. Far above their ship, the human enforcement vessels were approaching. In the alien sector, Alira's own leaders were also meeting. One commander hissed, she has shamed our people. To live under human care is dishonor. Another growled, we should capture her and show all what happens to traitors. They sent their own scouts toward human space. The trap was closing from both sides. Later that evening, Marcus called a meeting with Mira, a contact from a hidden rebel group. The rebels were made of humans and aliens who had refused the war. Mira appeared on the holoscreen. You've made quite a mess, Captain, she said, half smiling. I need extraction. Marcus said. Before both sides take her, Mira raised an eyebrow. You care for her. Marcus nodded without hesitation. Yes. Behind him, Alira listened quietly. Her heart pounded. No one had ever fought for her like this. Not even her own people. Mira sighed. Fine. We'll send coordinates. But you'll be hunted by both sides now. Marcus smiled slightly. Understood. That night, Alira sat quietly in her room. The stars outside blinked like cold eyes. Marcus entered. Sitting beside her, you still have a choice, he said. Gently, I won't force you to run with me. Alira whispered, you should have never saved me. Marcus smiled softly, but I did. Her lip trembled. I don't deserve this. He placed his hand over hers. Yes, you do. Suddenly, the ship alarm sounded. They had been found. Enemy ships dropped out of warp behind them, one human military, one alien patrol. The human officers contacted Marcus instantly. This is your last chance, Captain. Surrender the alien or be fired upon. Inside the alien ship, her former commander shouted through the broadcast. Alira, return to your people and face your punishment. Alira stood frozen, her heart racing. Both sides wanted to use her. Both sides called her a traitor. But for the first time, she realized something powerful. She didn't belong to either of them anymore. Marcus looked at her. You decide. Her voice shook, but her words were strong. I choose neither. I choose freedom. Marcus activated full shields and jumped the ship into hyperspace. The two enemy fleets fired delayed as the stars stretched into long bright lines. Alira sat in her seat, gripping the armrest. Her chest rose and fell quickly. She looked at Marcus. You gave me a choice, she whispered. Marcus smiled. No one else ever did. She shook her head, tears filling her eyes. No one, and far behind them, the powerful governments realized they had both lost control of one thing they feared most. A free mind. The first bond of trust. In war, trust is rare. For a slave, it is dangerous. For an enemy, it is unthinkable. But sometimes, trust is the only way to survive. The ship glided quietly through the cold, empty dark of space. The stars outside blinked like distant eyes, watching their escape. Inside, Alira sat across from Marcus in the tiny dining area. Neither spoke at first. The silence between them was heavy. Not uncomfortable, just full of everything unsaid. Finally, Marcus broke the silence. We're safe for now. Alira nodded slowly. For now. She looked down at the simple meal he had prepared for her. Warm soup, fresh bread. No tricks, no demands. But still, her fingers hesitated. Marcus noticed. You still don't trust me, Alira whispered. I don't know how. Her voice trembled. My entire life. Every time I trusted someone, they hurt me. They used me, my commanders, my teachers, my own people. She looked up at him, her eyes shining with old pain. And then humans came. They burned my world. They killed my friends, my family. Marcus nodded, his face serious. We did. Alira was surprised by his honesty. No excuses? She asked quietly. Marcus shook his head. There are no excuses. War turns good people into monsters. He took a breath. I lost people too. My brother died in the second wave. My home city was attacked. For a moment, their pain met, not as alien and human, but as the survivors. Alira whispered, if we're enemies, why save me? Marcus smiled faintly, maybe because I was tired of being an enemy. He leaned forward, speaking softly. I don't want war anymore, Alira. I want to believe we can be better. The silence returned, but now it felt different. Softer, almost warm. Finally, Alira's hand moved. She lifted the spoon and took a small sip of soup. It tasted simple, but it filled her chest with something unfamiliar. Peace. Later, Marcus showed her the small garden chamber inside the ship. Rows of green plants grew under soft lights, providing fresh air and food. Alira walked among them slowly, touching the leaves gently. This is beautiful, she whispered. Sometimes, growing life feels better than taking it, Marcus said. She paused by a small white flower. In my world, this flower is a symbol of new beginnings. She looked at him. Maybe this is my beginning. Marcus smiled. Maybe, but far away. Neither side had forgotten them. On the human side, special hunters were dispatched. The human council declared Marcus a traitor. On the alien side, bounty. Hunters were offered rewards for Alira's return. Back inside the ship, Alira and Marcus sat again at the observation window. The stars stretched endlessly ahead. Alira spoke softly. My people will never accept me now. I am nothing to them. Marcus shook his head. You are not nothing. He pointed to the stars. You're free. Her lip trembled. But what does freedom mean when you have nowhere to go? Marcus turned toward her fully. You have me. His voice was soft but strong. You're not alone. For a moment, Alira couldn't breathe. No one had ever said those words to her. Not with honesty. Not without asking for something in return. She whispered back. Do you mean that? Yes. Then something inside her shifted. For the first time, she leaned forward. Not to obey. Not to please, but because she wanted to. She placed her head gently on his shoulder. And there, in that simple, quiet moment, the first true bond of trust was born. But far behind them, in the dark corners of both governments, leaders whispered in anger, they think they can escape us. They won't. And new hunters were sent, not to negotiate. Not to capture, but to kill. The hunt begins. They ran to escape death. But death wasn't chasing them anymore. Now it was hunting them. The stars above looked peaceful, but in the darkness, something moved. Fast. Silent. Deadly. A bounty ship drifted just outside scanning range. Its surface dark and smooth like a predator waiting to strike. Inside, two hunters checked their weapons. One was human, the other was alien. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. They had the same mission, Alira and the human captain, dead or alive. Back on Marcus's ship, everything seemed calm. He and Alira sat together, reviewing old charts of hidden sectors. They were trying to reach a quiet moon, a rebel safe world known only to a few. Alira pointed to a small star cluster. There, my people never went near the zone. They believed it was cursed. Marcus smiled. Perfect. That's where we'll hide. But Alira's smile faded. Her eyes turned serious. They'll come for us. Marcus nodded. They already are. That night, Alira couldn't sleep. She walked into the garden room. Standing among the quiet plants, she stared at the stars through the glass ceiling. Her fingers touched her own chest, where the scar from her battlefield while remained. She whispered to herself, I survived when I wasn't supposed to, and now someone wanted to erase that survival. Suddenly, the ship's warning system lit up. Red, flashing. Loud, Marcus rushed to the control panel. Incoming vessel. No ID. Tracking us. He swore under his breath. They found us. Alira ran in. Can we outrun them? Marcus shook his head. They're faster. He looked at her seriously. We can fight. But if you want me to surrender you, no, Alira said sharply. Her eyes were full of fire. I'd rather die free. Marcus smiled despite the danger. That's my girl. The enemy ship fired a warning shot. It shook the hull violently. Marcus spun the ship toward a nearby asteroid belt. He flew through the spinning rocks like a dancer dodging blades. Behind them, the hunters followed, careful, but closing in inside the cabin. Alira sat at the secondary weapons console. Marcus glanced at her. You sure about this? She nodded. I told you before, I'm not your passenger. I'm your partner. She activated the turret. The blaster charged. Then, with sharp eyes, she waited. The enemy ship came closer, slipping between the large asteroids. Alira fired, direct hit. Sparks flew from the enemy hull, but they kept coming. "They're tough," Marcus muttered. "They're angry," Alira replied. "Good." The bounty hunters launched a magnetic harpoon that struck the back of their ship, pulling them in. "They're going aboard," Marcus said. Alira gritted her teeth. "Let them try." The docking alarm blared. Marcus handed her a blaster. "We hold the line." The enemy hatch hissed open. Two bounty hunters stepped inside. Both wore dark armor. Both had silent, deadly eyes. The human hunter sneered. "So this is the alien lover." Marcus raised his weapon. "Call her that again, and you won't get another breath." Blasters fired. The battle inside the ship was tight, fast, and brutal. Alira ducked behind a crate and returned fire, her aim sharp. One of the hunters charged her, but she kicked him back and shot twice. He fell. Marcus tackled the other, disarming him with a powerful strike. Together, Alira and Marcus stood over the fallen hunters, breathing hard. Alira's hands were shaking, not from fear, from adrenaline, from rage, from survival. Marcus gently took the weapon from her hands. "You okay?" She nodded slowly. "I didn't freeze this time." "No, you didn't." She looked at him, breathless. "I was never meant to fight. I was trained to obey. But with you, I feel like I'm finally becoming who I was meant to be." He smiled. "And who is that?" Her answer came without pause, free and strong. But as they pushed the dead hunters' bodies into space, they both knew more were coming. The price on their heads had just gone up. Asterisk the choice of freedom. Every survivor faces a final question. Do I keep running? Or do I finally stand? For Alira, that question had arrived. The ship floated in quiet space after the brutal fight. Marcus was fixing the damaged panels while Alira sat nearby, watching the sparks from his repair tool. Her mind was spinning. For days, she had run. For weeks, she had feared. But now, she felt something new. Strength. Marcus finished and wiped sweat from his forehead. "That should hold us together long enough to reach the rebel colony." Alira looked at him, and after that, he paused, sensing the real meaning behind her words. "After that, you decide." Alira stared at the small silver ring in his hand. Simple, plain, no jewels, but beautiful in its own way. He had made it quietly during the repairs, melting old metal from their damaged ship. He held it out to her. "I don't ask for your debt. I don't want your loyalty. I want your choice." His voice softened. "Not as the alien I saved, as the woman I love." Alira's heart pounded. Love. She had never heard the word spoken like this. Not forced. Not traded. Not bought. Offered. Her fingers shook as she reached out. The cold metal touched her skin as she slipped the ring onto her finger. "I never thought I would choose anyone," she whispered, "but I choose you." Marcus smiled, his eyes shining with emotion. "Then we face whatever comes next together." At that moment, a message appeared on the main screen. "Rebel outpost confirmed. Safe zone unlocked." They were close, but as their ship approached the peaceful colony, both knew their enemies wouldn't stop. The human government had labeled Marcus a traitor. The alien council had declared Alira dishonored. Both sides still wanted them punished. As they landed on the green world, rebel leaders gathered. Among them was Mira, a wise older woman who had built the colony for survivors of both races. She studied Alira closely. "You survived much." Alira nodded. "I'm not running anymore." Mira smiled. "Good, then you may stay." But Mira's face turned serious. "There's one thing you must know." She pointed to a distant star map. Both governments had joined forces. They want to prove they can work together by hunting you down. Alira clenched her fists. "They're afraid." Mira nodded. "They're afraid of what you represent." Marcus spoke calmly. "They're afraid of freedom." That night, as the sun set over peaceful hills, Alira and Marcus walked hand in hand under the stars. She whispered softly, "I once believed my life ended on that battlefield." Marcus smiled. It began. Suddenly, distant alarms lit the colony. Walls. Ships appeared on scanners. Enemy forces had arrived. Mira rushed to them. "They're sending a message. If they can't take you quietly, they'll crush us all." Alira looked at Marcus. This time, her voice didn't tremble. "No more running." Marcus nodded. "Then we fight." The rebels gathered quickly. Humans and aliens stood side by side. Weapons loaded. Walls fortified. Mira addressed the fighters. "They don't fear our guns. They fear our unity." Stand together, and we break their chains forever. The rebels cheered. Alira stood before them. Her voice rang out. I was once left to die in the dirt. Flies landed on my wounds while everyone walked past. I was nothing. Her eyes burned bright now. But one human didn't walk past. He lifted me, not as property, as a person. She raised her weapon high. Today we show the galaxy. We are not enemies. We are free. The rebels shouted together. The final battle for their freedom was about to begin. A new life among the stars. Asterisk. The first time she closed her eyes, she waited for death. The second time, she chose life. Now, she was fighting for a future she never believed could exist. The battle began under a sky full of stars. Enemy ships landed on the peaceful rebel world, their weapons shining in the dark. The human soldiers came. The alien warriors followed. Both armies thought they were hunting one man and one alien woman. But what they found was something far more dangerous, a united colony. Alira stood in front of the rebel fighters. Marcus stood beside her. She felt her heart pounding, not from fear, but from fierce determination. She was not running anymore. The enemy leaders offered one last demand: surrender or be destroyed. Alira stepped forward. Her voice was clear. You already tried to destroy me. She pointed to herself. But here I stand, and we stand together. The rebels roared. Blaster fire exploded across the field. The battle raged under the stars. Alira fought beside Marcus, moving like a warrior reborn. Her hands were steady. Her aim was true. Every shot was not just for her own freedom, but for everyone who had once been forgotten. In the middle of battle, one of the alien commanders charged toward her. You are a disgrace, he shouted. Alira stood firm. No, I am free. She fired. The commander fell. The enemy armies were strong, but they had made a mistake. They were fighting against people who had already survived the worst. The rebels fought like people who had nothing left to lose and everything to gain. Hours passed. Finally, one by one, the enemy ships pulled back. They had failed. The world was safe. As the sun rose, lighting up the quiet hills, Alira fell to her knees, breathing heavily. Marcus dropped beside her, pulling her into his arms. It's over, he whispered. She closed her eyes for a moment, tears falling. Yes. The rebel fighters gathered around. Mira raised her voice. Today, the chains broke forever. The crowd cheered. News of their victory spread across the galaxy. The governments, embarrassed and defeated, were forced to sign peace agreements. The bounty was canceled. The hunt was over. Weeks later, Alira stood by the garden outside her new home. Children laughed around her. Many were orphans, victims of the war, now safe. She helped them plant new seeds into the soil. Each small sprout was a symbol, new beginnings. Marcus walked up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. They asked if you'll lead the colony council. He whispered. Alira smiled softly. I was once nothing but a body left for the flies. She turned to him. Now, they want me to lead. He kissed her forehead, gently, because you earned it. That evening, as the stars filled the sky, a small ceremony began. Alira and Marcus stood together before their friends, human and alien. Mira spoke. You both risked everything for freedom. You found love where others saw only war. She smiled. Today, you don't just marry each other. You marry the worlds. Alira held Marcus's hands, her voice trembling with happiness. I once thought my life ended the day I closed my eyes on that battlefield. But when I opened them, you were there. Her eyes glistened. You didn't just save me. You showed me who I could become. Marcus whispered back. You showed me what peace looks like. Under the stars, they exchanged simple rings, melted from broken war metal, now reshaped into symbols of love. As cheers rose, Alira looked up at the sky. The stars no longer looked like distant cold lights. Now they looked like open doors. She whispered softly. I closed my eyes expecting death, but I opened them to life and to him.